tripartite platform that brings together member states, employers and organizations, and workers' organizations to promote social dialogue, build consensus, and advance inclusive policy development across the continent. The work of this session, as we are aware, is organized around two different sectors. So we have the social development sector, covering child protection, disability inclusion, aging, family, and social protection. And we have the labor and employment sector, focusing on employment creation, labor governance, labor migration, skills development, and social dialogue, to mention a few. So before we proceed, I would like to draw your attention to the interpretation arrangements. So we have simultaneous interpretation available in the 4 African Union's language. We have English, French, Arabic, and Portuguese. We also have sign language for inclusivity. To facilitate the smooth conduct of this meeting throughout the week, delegates are kindly requested to leave their interpretation headsets and receivers in the conference room at the close of each day's proceedings. We thank you for your cooperation. I will now call my co-moderator. Please, you have the floor.
Good morning. How are you? I can't hear you. You very fine? You arrived well and you stayed good for one night. We are happy that you are here. Thank you, Dr. Akinola. Distinguished representative of the Republic of Namibia, distinguished representatives of the AUC, representatives of the Organization of Africa Trade Union Unity, or two, representative of Business Africa, representatives of African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, members of the outgoing Bureau of STC SDLE 5, esteemed experts and senior officials, stakeholders and social partners, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government of the Republic of Namibia, it is my distinct honor and privilege to greet you. Good morning. A warmly welcome for you to our beloved country. We call it a land of the brave. We are truly delighted to host you and trust that beyond the importance, deliberation that bring us together here, you will experience the warmth of our people, the richness of our diverse culture, and the breathtaking beauty of a land of remarkable contrasts, where majestic deserts meet the Atlantic Ocean, vast open landscape blend with abundant wildlife, and timeless tradition coexist with modern progress. May your stay in Namibia be both productive and memorable. And may you live, when you leave, the day you are going to leave, if you are not decided to stay, with lasting friendships and cherished memory of our nation. So I will also be the proceedings of the official opening. And before we dive into the activities of the sessions, I want to call to the podium for household issues. We wouldn't want to say it ourselves, but give it to the horse mouth herself. I want to call Ms. Florence Rukata, a health and safety coordinator for Country Club Resort. Thank you. Florence?
Good morning, everybody. All protocol observed. I'm Florence Lukata, as introduced. We are not having any drills, so if you hear any siren, please exit through here. Our assembly point is outside here. Our toilets are, as you entered, right there in the beginning. This is where the toilets is. So I hope you would enjoy your meeting, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Now we know where to run to when the need arises, but let assured, we might not do that exercise at all. I think also the fresh rooms, when you go outside, they are on the, you turn right, somewhere at the end edge on your left-hand side, the restrooms are there. Is it rest or fresh room? Or some call it Ministry of Home Affairs, so it is there. Now, looking at this venue today assured me very, very pretty much that indeed the future of Africa will not be defined only by growth of its economies, but by the strength of its social protection system and the dignity they preserve and hope they create for every citizen. And with that said, let me invite my able Executive Director of the Ministry of Justice and Labor Relations, responsible for labor relations, to welcome you and give you the welcoming remarks on behalf of Namibia. Mr. Benangobe. A round of applause.
Thank you very much for the floor, directors of the program this morning. The directors of the program are doing so well already. If you were to assess them, the score will be high. Give them a round of applause, please, to our able directors of the program. So, good morning once again. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, that's more like it. Thank you. My task here this morning is very simple. The directors of the program have already established the protocol. So in the interest of time, I will not go into that, save to say I recognize the members of the media who are going to help us to transmit the messages emanating from this important conference. The members of the media from within Namibia's borders and those without. So it is a great honor for me, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government and people of the Republic of Namibia, to warmly, as much as the weather is a bit chilly, I'm still warmly welcoming all delegates from different parts of our continent and indeed the world to our capital city, Windhoek, for this 6th ordinary session of the Specialized Technical Committee of the AU on Social Development, Employment, and Labor. It was in 2024 when Namibia offered to host this 6th ordinary session. The offer was officially endorsed by the ministers responsible for social development, labor, and employment at the 5th ordinary session, which took place in Africa's capital, Addis Ababa. Following that endorsement, of course, we started with our internal arrangement, approaching our cabinet to endorse and approve and authorize the hosting of this very session. In the intervening months, our local team here, working together with their African Union Commission colleagues, started the work of hosting this session in earnest. In May this year, we received a technical mission from the AU to see for themselves on the ground what was happening. And that energized our team further to work to ensure that we put all the arrangements in place to ensure a successful hosting of this session. We are deeply appreciative of the professionalism, the commitment, and the long hours invested by both teams in arranging for this session. We therefore extend our sincere gratitude to the AU team for their support. Please give them a thunderous round of applause. As I said, I stand here to welcome you. The Namibian people from all corners of this land welcome you. And we are welcoming you as members of our broader African family. Guided by our shared aspirations, as articulated in Agenda 2063, we must remain committed to building an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa. This session of the Specialized Technical Committee embodies that spirit of unity, bringing together governments, workers, employers, and experts to shape policies whose intent and content must aim to uplift the people of Africa, strengthen our continent's resilience, and engender a new sense of urgency to create opportunities for our communities, especially our young people, so that they can grow, so that they can thrive, so that they can compete with their counterparts in the rest of the world. This morning, my brother Sabelo and I had an opportunity to discuss the program of this meeting on our national television. Sabelo, you did a great job in terms of sharing with the greater, yes, please, sharing with the greater public about the importance and the weight of this meeting. You unpacked the issues in a candid yet deep manner, and I want to thank you for that. So, we spoke about the theme of this meeting, which is investing, strengthening, and expanding social protection systems in Africa as critical enablers for inclusion, for resilience, and for social justice. And for us in Namibia, we believe that this theme aligns closely with our national priorities as articulated in our Vision 2030 and in our 6th National Development Plan. Under our NDP 6, the country has adopted a human-centered approach to development, focusing on strengthening social protection, improving labor market inclusion, and building systems that safeguard the well-being and security of all Namibians. And that is what this theme speaks about. Through the interventions that are planned in NDP 6, we are working as a country to build systems that are robust, that are future-ready, that are better coordinated, and responsive to shocks and supportive of greater national vision, to defeat poverty, to uplift all sections of our society, and to bring about prosperity that we as Namibians yearn, that we as Africans also desire. This, we believe, is fully in consonance with the direction that we as Africans have taken and adopted at continental level. The work before us over the next 3 days is essential, and it is instrumental to strengthening integrated, inclusive, and resilient social protection systems. These are the issues that the delegates here are going to articulate as we unpack the documents that are going to be placed before us in preparation of the ministerial segment. And I believe that there are so many good international best practice that we can indeed learn from one another. And for that purpose, I want to urge each and every delegate to speak candidly, to speak openly, and to share generously, so that what we do here can have the desired impact of improving the livelihoods of each and every African citizen. It was already stated here that our meeting, in the true nature of tripartism, is going to be addressed by delegates from the different constituents, governments, workers, and employers. And in terms of the organization of our work here, we are going to have 2 segments or parallel sessions, and those are the session on social development and the session on labor and employment. We believe that by arranging the work in that manner, we are going to provide for sufficient time for the experts in various fields to be able to ventilate the issues and provide the necessary advice. In that regard, as you undertake this important work, we are at the same time as a country inviting you to enjoy your stay in the land of the brave. Aune here articulated the beauty of it. I hope it has whetted your appetite so that you not only focus on the work at hand, but if you find time, please do enjoy the beauty that our country will offer. And in that regard, somebody whispered to me that we are going to have an official reception this evening. And is it today? Yeah, it is today. So we are going to have an official reception for our delegates. And it is going to, I'm told, feature a Namibian braai. When I was briefly interacting with some of the delegates here, many of you, it's not your first time to Namibia, but for those that are visiting for the first time, the braai It's a unique concept in this part of the world, and I'm sure you are going to enjoy it. So please prepare yourself for a nice dinner afterward. So work hard, but you're also going to be fed nicely. Yeah. We are going to feed so well, you are going to be fed up. Distinguished delegates, let me once again extend our sincere and warm welcome to all of you. I wish you all productive deliberations. You as experts have a lot that you need to offer to this meeting. There are great expectations on you to deliver an outcome for this meeting that speaks to the future, that provides policy direction, not only in terms of written documents, but in terms of having actionable steps that we can take as Africans to improve the lot of the African people. So may your work over the next 3 days lay a strong foundation for a successful ministerial segment and contribute meaningfully to Africa's social development, to issues of labor justice, and to ensuring that our continent prospers economically by creating conducive environment for business to do what they do best. Ladies and gentlemen, thus concludes my welcoming remarks. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Another round of applause. Now we feel welcome. We are well welcomed. We are told we are going to enjoy the cuisine of the food of the land of the brave. Miriam told us that she made sure that you will be able to dive into different types of our traditional food. Or am I talking out of context, Miriam? If you change your mind after you have told me, I sold you out. I believe that all of us also have now gotten grips of what is our Wi-Fi provisions here. I just want to repeat that if you click there and you find the MOJ, whether it is 123, click in any, and the password is 1234567 I think that's the correct one. Thank you very much. Thank you, Edie, for welcoming our guests. And I believe they really now feel at home. We need to move on to the opening remarks. And our first speaker with the opening remark, it's from the International Trade Union Conference I took, and I'm calling to the podium Mr. Yoel Odigir. I believe I also, tried to learn to say it correctly. Thank you very much.
Good morning, distinguished guests, excellencies. My sister, the name is Akato Joel Odije. You have done a good performance. General Secretary, African Regional Organization of the International Trade Union Confederation, ITUC Africa. On behalf of our organization and our counterpart organization, the Organization of African Trade Union Unity, we want to appreciate the government of Namibia for putting this initiative together, as we have always believed in it as African people. We equally want to welcome excellencies and guests that have traveled all across Africa to the land of the brave. Comrades, guests, delegates, participants, friends from the media, the issue, the topic for this 6th Social Development, Labor and Employment Specialized Technical Committee session is a very important one. It is timely, it is critical, and we appreciate the African Union for considering this. Across Africa, inflation is eroding wages, household income, the ranks of the working poor is on the uptick, is growing, while unemployment, underemployment, and inequality continue to deepen poverty and insecurity. Nearly 9 in 10 jobs are in the informal economy, informal sector, and fewer than 1 in 5 Africans have access to social protection benefits. It has often been said, and this is a funny one, that there are lies, that there are damn lies, and then there are statistics. In the African's case, the figure often conceal more than they reveal. They marks the daily struggle of women and men who work but remain trapped in poverty. They conceal the frustration of young people unable to find productive employment and the difficult choices faced by families that cannot afford food, health care, education, and shelter. Comrades, social protection is a right and a productive investment that we must all make. It should never be regarded as charity. It should strengthen because it strengthens resilience and protects people during unemployment, illness, maternity, disability, old age, and in economic crisis. The question of social protection is also a question of democracy. People experience democracy through decent jobs, fair wages, functioning public services, and social security. When democratic systems repeatedly fail to improve people's lives, public trust weakens. Support for democracy cannot be treated as an unlimited reserve. It then bears the call. People will only see democracy as useful when there are dividends to them. We call on our African government that we are excited that our governments across countries and across board agree that we all need to scale up social protection. There is no doubt about that. We are all in agreement and we are excited about that. But at least we also agree that part of the crisis, like we always hear from our government, is that the economy is stupid. In other words, how do we finance social protection possibility or expansion for people, especially the majority that are in the informal economy? We have noticed that debt servicing have continued to erode possibility for financing social protection. We have noticed that illicit financial flows have continued to steal schools, healthcare, public services. We have also noticed that more than ever before, regressive taxation has made it difficult for poor persons and poor households to really do well. And it is even worse when our government or when we choose to operate or adopt austerity measures that further cuts protection for the poor. We as African workers, we want to make a quick statement to say that we are very much ready to working with our government to defeat these instances that make it impossible to finance social protection. As ITUC Africa, we have taken a number of initiatives to addressing this crisis frontally, including speaking with the government from the global north on how we need to rescale debt management, restructure debt, so that our government can have opportunity to be able to finance social protection. We have gone far as working with even the African Union on this and progressive civil society organizations across our continent to addressing illicit financial flows. In other words, big businesses who do businesses in Africa make stupendous profits but don't pay fair share of taxes. It is our belief that if we want to address social protection possibilities to take care of the vulnerables, including migrant workers, like we say, it is the point which we must echo. When we hear march and march against migrants, that is not us. That is not trade union. That's not workers. Migrant workers deserve the right to also coexist and the right to also be protected. They represent a critical sense of the vulnerables and shouldn't be treated like criminals. Finally, comrades, in thanking the Namibian government, I want to urge our government. When we look at the room, you see it's a bit half empty. A number of our governments are not here. We want to appeal that we should take our own process, mechanism on the continent very seriously. I say this because when we are going to the ILO and we have an African convergence, the hall will not be empty. Africa will be fully represented. If we are fascinated to travel abroad, there should be incentive and excitement to travel within our continent and to use our mechanism very well. I also want to appeal to our government, first in appreciating those of them that I see here. We have taken a scan of the room in terms of the tripartite composition of representation here. And we see that quite some of our governments have done very well in bringing tripartite delegation, which we appreciate. But a number of us equally have not done so. It is our appeal that the tripartite essence of this SCC should be preserved. It's an appeal. Two, before I take my seat, is to make the point and an appeal to the AU through the SCC. If we have this session, can we, I was discussing with my brother Mbaka, who represents the African group in Geneva, to say, can we have this session before maybe the ILO space? Our appeal has always been, can we have it annually? Maybe 1 year online, the other one we meet like this. So that these issues that are very topical and critical, we are always discussing them on time. And then can we meet before the ILC, the International Labour Conference, so that we use this space as agenda setting for Africa going to the international space. Finally, comrades, from the International Labour Conference, we respect and appreciate multilateralism. From those of us from the Global South, multilateralism represents an opportunity for inclusion. It represents an opportunity for bridging asymmetry of power. And as you will have learned, after 103 years of the International Labour Organization, an African for the first time was elected to that position. Comrades, it is time for re-election of the DG for a second mandate. And as African workers, we are overwhelmingly in support of Mr. Gilbert Humbo, who we think has done marvelously well in a spate of crisis that the ILO has faced to steady the ship. We want to appeal to this House that before we leave, we should be able to take a firm endorsement on that position, echoing the re-election of Mr. Gilbert Humbo as Director General of the ILO. Comrades, I thank you. Good morning.
Maybe it's because I was walking to the podium, so I did not hear the round of applause. You know, I was just telling my colleagues that when you are in the evening of your age, you tend to forget. Did you clapped for Mr. Who spoke now? Did we? Maybe I did not hear you. I'm in the evening of my age. Can we give him another good round of applause? Thank you very much. The opening remark was overwhelming, really. Indeed, it has indicated to us that social protection is not a cost. It is an investment in the African people, resilience and prosperity. Strong social protection systems create inclusive societies, drive sustainable development, and ensure that no one is left behind. And I think that's the call of Mr. Odigye that we need to consider as government. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So my last call before I hand over to my colleague, Dr. Akinola. So is Mr. Stephen Obiro from the Business Africa. Sir, come and give us your opening remarks. Thank you very much.
Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates present, and the representative of the government of Namibia, the chairperson of the STC Bureau for the 5th Bureau, the representative of African Union Commission, my brother Sabelo, my brother Joel, representative of ITUC Africa, the representative of ADA NEPAD, Excellencies, good morning. Excellencies, may I ask the employers in the delegations to stand up? If you are from the employers in the delegation, kindly stand up. The employers, the delegations that came, the employers, thank you. Let's get seated. I want to commend the member states that included the tripartite delegations, and I also encourage others to follow their example. The STC on social development, labor, and employment is a tripartite forum where employers work alongside governments and workers to advance the socio-economic development of our communities and Africa as a whole. While our views and approaches may sometimes differ, our ultimate goal remains the same. This STC provides a platform for social dialogue, enabling us to understand and appreciate one another's interests and the reasons behind our respective positions. Your Excellencies, social dialogue should not merely help us defend our positions. It should help us improve them by deepening our information, understanding, and appreciation of one's other's perspectives. Through stronger social dialogue, we can develop better initiatives that promote economic growth and wealth creation in our societies. We can unlock the productive potential of our businesses. We can support higher incomes and improved welfare for workers. And we can generate adequate revenues for the governments to invest in the infrastructure, social protection systems, and to serve citizens more efficiently and effectively. Excellencies, member states across Africa are grappling with urgent and interconnected challenges that demand practical solutions and visible results. These challenges include persistent poverty and hopelessness among our people, limited fiscal space to invest in programs and initiatives that improve the quality of life in our communities, and growing expectations from citizens who want to see meaningful results in their lifetime. We believe the most effective response is to strengthen productive capacities of businesses to create decent jobs, generate wealth, and expand opportunities across Africa. Your Excellencies, from the papers submitted that we've seen on the portal for this meeting, it is clear that we discuss a wide range of strategies and requests, including social protection, labor migration, inclusion and diversity, social justice, and protection of children from harmful practices, among others. Progress on these issues require a united Africa, one that speaks with one voice, works together, and supports every member state in building a stronger continent. We recognize that member states are at different stages of economic development. However, Africa is stronger when those with greater capacity support those with less, and when all countries stand together as pillars of one another's progress. Africa is better when it is united. Excellencies, Africa is often said to produce strong strategies, policies, resolutions, commitments, and agreements that too often fail to become reality. We speak with ambition, yet our actions do not always match that ambition. As employers, we respectively urge the experts, member states, workers, development partners, and all distinguished excellencies present to ensure that this sixth STC on social development, labor, and employment does not become part of that pattern. Let the effort and investments made at every level to convene this meeting translate into concrete actions that move Africa forward. Your Excellencies, Business Africa and the employers across the continent are committed to working with you to advance Africa's progress. We view this meeting as an important forum through which we can contribute meaningfully to that shared goal. We trust that the experts will rise to the occasion and ensure that the sixth Specialized Technical Committee on Social Development, Labor and Employment is not remembered as just another important meeting, but as one that helped move Africa, helped transform Africa. Chairperson, allow me to thank you and the 5th Bureau and the Secretariat for the excellent work undertaken since the last STC that we had. The agenda and the papers before us reflect significant effort for which we are grateful. I also wish to reiterate the need for a robust monitoring and accountability system for the work and resolutions of the STC on social development and labor and employment, and an important issue had already raised in the previous STC. A key question for all of us is what became of the resolutions the last and previous STCs made. What progress has been made in implementing them? Have they simply remained on our shelves? What differences have they made? I am pleased to note that of the inclusion of progress reports on social and solidarity economy. I've seen them in the reports that are submitted. We have seen the reports on labor migration statistics, as well as the terms of reference for the African Labor and Employment Council, issues that featured on the agenda of the last STC. Excellencies, on behalf of Business Africa, the employers group, I thank the government of Namibia and the nation of Namibia for hosting us. We appreciate the AU and all its organs and agencies for the work they have done to prepare for this 6th STC on social development, labor and employment. We applaud each member state for the effort you are putting into this journey of transforming Africa. God bless you. God bless Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, the tripartite arrangement governing the specialized technical committee should be duly respected. Thank you, Mr. Obiro, for your insightful and excellent remarks. Vos Excellence, distinguished delegate, it is my pleasure now to invite Ms. Dafin Muzawazi on behalf of Mr. Sime Gray Jensen, Director of Human Capital and Social Development for Outer Part, to deliver the opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. Distinguished guests and excellencies, I will deliver the opening remarks during this expert session of the STC on social development, labor and employment on behalf of the Director of Human Capital, Institutional and Social Development, Mr. Sime Gray Johnson from AUDA NEPAD. The representative from the Ministry of Justice and Labor, Relations of the Republic of Namibia, representatives of the Government of Namibia, the representatives from the OATUU and Business Africa, of course, our colleagues and brothers and sisters from the African Union Commission, esteemed experts from the AU member states present, representatives of the workers and employers organizations, representatives of the regional economic communities and African Union organs, development partners, civil society representatives, and distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the government of Namibia and the African Union Commission for convening this 6th session of the STC on social development, labor, and employment. I also recognize the work of the technical teams that have tirelessly worked behind the scenes to ensure the gathering is a success. The role of gathering this pool of experts at this stage is timely, considering the development dynamics and emerging threats and challenges that the continent is facing. Our honorable ministers therefore require recommendations that are politically relevant, technically sound, physically credible, and capable of implementation. Thus, today, our task is to convert the theme of the STC into practical systems agenda that addresses the dynamic and emerging challenges for member states and regional economic communities. The evidence baseline, I think we've heard it from the previous speakers. The continent continues to face overlapping risks: poverty, unemployment, informality, climate shocks, conflict, migration, demographic changes, health emergencies, disability-related exclusion, and persistent inequalities across gender and age. Our social protection coverage gap remains wide, with only about 17.4% of Africa's population receiving at least one social protection benefit, and only 19.1% with effective coverage. These figures reflect different reference points and data updates, but the policy conclusion is the same. Roughly about 4 or 5 out of 5 Africans remain without effective coverage, and globally, this corresponding figure stands at about 52.4%. With many member states spending less than 5% of their GDP on social protection, amidst the debt service pressures, innovative ways for physical support and investment in social protection is imperative. The difference between the regional and global progress should greatly worry us, but also serve as a source of inspiration to sharpen our technical work. The technical diagnostics. Zooming in across member states, social protection systems differ in maturity, coverage, and institutional reform. But there are 6 recurring constraints that appear across all the evidence from the work that we've also embarked on the past 2 to 3 years. Number 1 is fragmentation. Cash transfers, social insurance, labor program, health financing, disability services, child protection, humanitarian support often operate separately and in siloed mandates, databases, and payment systems. Number 2, exclusion of informal and mobile workers. Contributory systems are often designed around standard employment relationships, while most of the workers are self-employed, informally employed, and seasonal, rural, or mobile across the borders. The third challenge is weak adequacy and continuity. A person may be registered but receive a benefit that is too small, or irregular, or inaccessible, or discontinued when the project ends, and when someone moves to another jurisdiction. That is also quite a huge challenge that persons, especially with disabilities, are also facing. Number 4 is the limited shock responsiveness. Many systems are not able to rapidly expand coverage or benefits when droughts, floods, conflict, disease outbreaks, or price shocks occur. We all know what happened after COVID-19 hit back in 2020. Humanitarian systems then build parallel mechanisms under emergency conditions and not preparedness conditions. Number 5 is institutional and data gaps. Responsibilities are dispersed across ministries and agencies. Integrated registries, civil registration, labor information, disability disaggregated data, and interoperable payment systems remain uneven. The last challenge is, of course, the financing weaknesses. Budgets are often short-term, they're fragmented, besides incomplete costing. Social protection expenditure is vulnerable during fiscal consolidation, and external funding may support projects without strengthening the national systems. So what has AUDA NEPAD put in place? As AUDA, we continue to support our member states to overcome some of these challenges. Through the Strengthening National Program Supporting Vulnerable Communities, the SNVC, we have organized our support around several functions. The first being strengthening inclusive and integrated shock-responsive social protection systems, while advancing digital and financial inclusion and economic resilience for vulnerable groups. We also working tirelessly to promote inclusive human capital development, demographic dividend realization, the care economy investment, and access to decent work and livelihood opportunities. Lastly, we're strengthening institutional coordination, continental policy coherence, which we're doing heavily with the African Union Commission, data systems, and knowledge exchange. Of course, not forgetting the Assembly mandate decision of December, Assembly AU December 973, which now requires AUDA NEPAD, the African Union Commission, and the regional economic communities to develop the Comprehensive Africa Social Protection Framework, the CASP, to scale up the SNV program, to mobilize resources, and to report progress on African Union policy organs. This creates a direct line from technical design to continental accountability. The AUDA NEPAD is committed to provide practical base for this continental progress. The Comprehensive Africa Social Protection Framework is aimed at offering coherent architecture around the key aspects that I mentioned earlier, which of course covers areas around inclusive and adaptive resilient systems, demographic dividend, youth and human capital. It also looks at gender equality, women's empowerment, and disability inclusion. Of course, the emerging topic around the care economy, which is looking at women who are in unpaid and paid care work and social services. employment, production, inclusion, informal economy transition, which covers, of course, social insurance extension and flexible payment mechanisms. Not forgetting health, nutrition, universal health coverage, and looking at the issue around migration, mobility, and portability. So in line with the theme of the 6th STC on social development, labor, and employment, we must therefore think in terms of common results framework baseline and national systems assessment methodology, costed life cycle package, interoperability and data governance standards, shock responsive policies and measures, informal economy and portability options, and looking at a financing compact. But most importantly, we must truly think of an implementation and accountability matrix. For every recommendation, we need to specify the action, who is the lead institution, timelines, resource requirements, and measurable indicators. This will allow us, as the AU organs, to track and deliver post this Windhoek convening. In closing, dear colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our technical recommendations as AUD and NEPAD must therefore lay the ground for our member states to invest, strengthen, and expand social protection systems in Africa. That is, our member states must be able to use them to reform their registries, to design their benefit packages, and establish a financing line coordinating agencies, data protection, rich and informal workers, and respond faster when shocks occur. Our recommendations must remain ambitious but practical. They must also reflect the national diversity while creating enough continental coherence to support mobility, comparability, learning, and accountability. The AUD and NEPAD stands ready to work with the African Union Commission, the regional economic communities, member states, and social partners, including technical institutions, through this comprehensive Africa Social Protection Framework and consultation, validation, implementation of this framework to ensure that we now extend social protection coverage across the continent. The quality of our technical work will determine the quality of political commitments placed before our countries. I wish all of us focused and productive deliberations today. Thank you very much. Merci, obrigado, asante sana.
Thank you, Ms. Daphne, for the excellent speech, and we sincerely appreciate the enormous support of AUD and NEPAD to ensure this meeting is a success. And I'll have the honor to invite Dr. Sabelo Mbokasi, the head of the Department for Labor, Employment, and Migration for the African Union Commission to deliver his remarks. We also wish to express our sincere appreciation to Dr. Sabelo for his exemplary leadership to this delegation and for his tireless efforts to the AUT team in the excellent organization and coordination of this program. Dr. Sabelo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Kindola, and thanks to our sister, who is your co-facilitator, co-program director, Ms. Ann. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we would like to first of all recognize the host government and the dear brother Ben Ongambe, with whom we were publicizing and talking about the work of this STC this morning through the national broadcaster, during which he eloquently outlined the objectives of this meeting. Can you give him a round of applause? We would like to recognize the chair of the STC, Currently, the chair is Chad. We would like to thank you, Chad, for your excellent leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to recognize, on behalf of the African Union, to recognize all the member states here represented. Member states, we see member states from the north. We see member states from the central region. We see member states from the west, from the east, and from the south. And all these are African Union regions. African Union has about 5 regions, and we see all the esteemed member states represented in this room. And we thank you for being here. This is your meeting. This remains your mandate that you have entrusted to the African Union to coordinate this sector, which is a tripartite sector, which is a unique sector in the entire African Union system. There is no other sector which has this tripartite arrangement in terms of its rules and procedures. And therefore, colleagues, we would like you to have that feeling that you are unique. Can you give yourself a round of applause? Yes, we would also like to, in the same token of appreciation, would like to acknowledge the employers and the business sector, which is part of this tripartite arrangement. We would also like to equally acknowledge the workers. Viva workers, viva. We would like to acknowledge the workers and say to them, the workers and the trade unions, we say revolutionary greetings to you. The struggle continues. Backward, never. Forward, ever. And aluta continua. Amandla. Thank you very much, workers and ladies and gentlemen. We would also like to recognize our distinguished partners who are here, who continue to support in various ways, supporting this sector so that it remains a vibrant sector and that it also delivers on its mandate. Ladies and gentlemen, and all protocols observed. On behalf of the African Union and on behalf of all the colleagues that are here represented, and on behalf of the entire African Union system, including our NEPAD, it is our distinguished honor to welcome you to this experts meeting of the 6th ordinary session of the Specialized Technical Committee on Social Development, Labor and Employment. And we would like to thank Namibia because they raised their hands during the 5th STC to say we will host the 6th STC. And indeed, they kept their word. Can you give Namibia a round of applause? Indeed, we would like to encourage you, ladies and gentlemen. You would see in the program that we will then request member states to raise their hands, those who are interested to host STC number 7. And that time will come and we invite member states to already start consulting with their capitals so that when that time comes, we can get the next host for the 7th STC. Allow me at the outset to express our sincerest appreciation to the government and the people of the Republic of Namibia for their warm hospitality and hosting us here in the beautiful city of Windhoek. We are grateful for the excellent arrangements and the continued commitment of Namibia to advancing the AU's social development, labor, and employment agenda. I've been reliably informed that this is not the first STC on labor and employment social development to take place here in Namibia, and therefore it means we see this trend and we have to appreciate the support of Namibia, support to this sector. The meeting takes place under the timely theme, investing, strengthening, and expanding social protection systems in Africa. It's about the critical enablers for inclusion, resilience, and social justice. So that is going to be the theme for this meeting, as our continent continues to confront persistent inequalities, demographic change, and economic transformation, climate shocks, and evolving labor markets. It is imperative that our policies place people at the center of the African development or of the development agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the African Union vision is to be an integrated continent, prosperous continent, and a peaceful continent. Over the next 3 days, you will then consider a number of strategic policy instruments and progress reports that will shape continental action in social protection, labor and employment, and social development. And all these documents are aimed at supporting this continent to become a prosperous continent in line with the African Union vision. Ladies and gentlemen, from the labor and employment sector, the documents that you can expect to consider, amongst others, would be the draft declaration and protection and promotion of the rights of the migrant workers, the labor migration data guidelines, but also the revitalization of the SPIRE work. Those colleagues who have been around this sector, they are aware about the SPIRE work. We are bringing it back so that it can be revitalized, because the SPIRE work is about those workers, extension of social protection to the rural workers. But also, you will consider a 10-year social and solidarity economy strategy, the progress report. From the social development and from the social welfare and development sector, you will consider key continental instruments, including the model law on child online safety and common Africa position on ending violence against children in Africa. But you'll also consider the consideration of the sign language as an African Union 7th official language. There will be a discussion about that. These discussions are not merely technical exercises, but they are an opportunity to strengthen policy coherence to advance the implementation of the Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. So we would like to encourage all the delegates here represented to engage constructively and share your experience, ladies and gentlemen, and work in the spirit towards achieving a consensus, which always characterizes this sector, this committee. Maybe you were wondering why we are having a blue. The blue it's because it's inspired by the AU annual theme, which focuses on water and sanitation, and we are all would like to embed our activities for the entire year 2026 on the broader annual theme of the African Union, which focuses on water and sanitation. You would agree with me ladies and gentlemen, we will talk about water. We cannot talk about social protection if we talk about basic services like access to clean and drinkable water. And therefore, that's why we have blue here in this color scheme. It's inspired by that. So as we conclude, I'm confident that our deliberations will produce practical and forward-looking recommendations for consideration by the ministers. So in closing, we once again want to thank the land of the brave, and it's great to be here in the land of the brave. We have already been promised that we will have braai. So in other regions, they call it nyamachoma, but we will have braai. So we are now invigorated and look forward to the reception. I wish all of us a fruitful deliberation and forward-looking outcomes of this meeting. We thank you.
Dr. Sabelo, thank you very much. And you reminded us to remember when you say Namibia raised a hand at the STC 5. I think those who were there will remember whose hand was it? Those who were there, can you remember whose hand was it? Who raised that flag? So there was a lady who was a dreamer that time and wanted to make sure that Namibia hosts the STC 6. And she was then the executive director of the Ministry of Labor by then. So I just want us to appreciate and give a round of applause for Melidia. Melidia, you can wave it to your people. Lydia Indombo was then the executive director, and she probably the one who raised the flag. Thank you very much. So she dreamed, and Tate Nangombe made sure the dream is implemented. Thank you.
Excellencies, no vos excellence. As we say in my country, the biggest masquerade always appears last. So finally, I have the honor to invite Mr. Mahamat. No, yes, Mahamut, yes. I'm sorry, I've been trying to pronounce it. Mr. Mahamut, the outgoing chairperson of the Bureau of the 5th Ordinary Session of the Specialized Technical Committee on Social Development, Labor and Employment, to deliver his remarks and present the report of the outgoing Bureau. Thank you.
Thank you, madame. Vous avez su quand même prononcer mon nom comme ça se doit. Good morning. Mesdames et messieurs les chefs de délégation et distingués experts des États membres. Monsieur le représentant des partenaires au développement,
representatives of our
de l'OIT,
development partners and organizations of labor and workers, distinguished guests and delegates in your various competencies and roles, I have the honor and great privilege to take the floor today on behalf of the Republic of Chad. My country had the very heavy and exalting responsibility to lead the technical work of our committee. And now, as we're experiencing a new era of our Bureau, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the government of Chad and all the member states of the AU. I would also like to express our deepest gratitude to the Secretariat of the AUC for truly having guided us like a campus in the work that we have done. And finally, I would like to thank and salute the hospitality of the Namibian government, hosting us here in Windhoek, which is the symbol of solidarity and the greatness of Africa. Dear colleagues and experts, the mandate led by Chad was taken within the context of historical changes, political transitions, and changes in the economical environment as well as climate change. And Africa today needs more than ever to have structural reforms. And faced with these urgencies, we did not only focus on the administrative work, but we focused squarely on the changes that can be palpable and sustainable and that can be applicable in the lives of our citizens. And true to our call for social reforms, we have worked with all our brethren, making sure that social justice may not be hindered, thanks to the political will that has been given. And we have worked on a couple of pillars. Firstly, we have changed the labor code. And Africa cannot work and forge a new future with old tools. And with this conviction, Chad has led these reforms of the labor code. It is not simply a technical adjustment, but this work is a test of equilibrium, balance, that is daring, taking into account digital reforms and new technologies, and also strengthening the participation of women within the workplace, and also centralizing the rights of workers, but also providing legal protection of workers. This is modern, and it is based on international conventions. As I was saying, this is indeed a very modern reform and truly the foundation for new changes and developments. But also, the second pillar is on the partnerships on developments. In order to build a strong economy, Chad has chosen the sacred path leading to a long-term alliance. And this platform leads today the decisions of the government and the various unions in order to ensure stability of the work environment. And this pact, this alliance, leads to peaceful agreements and also strengthen, indeed, the earning power of workers. And this participative system is provided for the rest of the continent. The third pillar is the mobilization of the youth via employment. Our demographic dividend is truly our greatest riches, but could also become our greatest challenge if we do not have sufficient audacity, sufficient courage, and we refused the status quo, and have decided to bring together the states, private sector, the academia, the youth, to have a forum that did not just have promises, but that has reformed our curricula in order to change the world of work, and also to change the work environment for our youth, and also to integrate our youth from the informal sector to the formal sector. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we have indeed the analysis. However, the task ahead of us is gigantic. Our debates this week will have to face squarely the essential questions and matters. Firstly, the extension of social coverage to more than 80% of our populations in order for them to survive within the informal sector, but also to develop the skills of our people and protect the dignity of our children and prevent child labor, which hinders the development or stunts the development of Africa. The report that we'll be able to produce over the 3 next days will be indeed the foundation for the decisions that will be taken by our ministers. Our scientific rigor should be irreproachable, and our Pan-African ambition should be without any limitation. And today, we would like to leave Namibia with the feeling of having accomplished our task, but also with the conviction, the absolute conviction, that technical integration is certainly a great factor for African unity. For our Namibian brothers who are taking now the baton and the way forward, the leadership, we would like to remind you that you will not be alone. You can rely on our loyalty, institutional memory, and the expertise of the Chad population. And under this promise, I would like, therefore, to hand over the leadership of Chad and wish you great success for the future endeavors. Thank you very much for your attention. Long live social integration and African populations. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Excellence. Now we have come to the end of the opening ceremony. Thank you so much for your attention, distinguished delegates. So now I know we are behind schedule. If you see our agenda, we are already behind schedule. So but here we would have a family photo, and then we come back for another plenary session before we go to our separate sectoral segment. And now it's 11:23, Dr. Sabla, 20 minutes? 30 minutes? Oh. 30 minutes, okay. So we give 30 minutes. So first, we will go for the family photo, which is outside, and also the tea break is right just across outside the venue there. And at 12 sharp, we'll convene and continue the other session. Thank you, Excellencies. So we have our ushers and protocols. Please help us direct our distinguished delegates where to have the family photo. Thank you.